Welcome back, listeners, to the Pleasure Principles podcast, where we dive deep into what really brings us joy, connection, and wholeness in our bodies, minds, and relationships. I'm your host, Sana, and today's conversation, listeners, is about something that's often misunderstood, but it is so vital to emotional health and intimacy: the wheel of consent. Now, my guest is Stefan Delsing, the insightful founder of MindsetExplained.com, a platform which is dedicated to helping self aware young adults and really anyone with a curious mind how to navigate personal growth, mental health, and emotional resilience. So, whether you are in your early 18s or teens or in your 40s, Stephen believes a young mind is one that stays curious, keeps asking questions, and is always learning. And I couldn't agree more. And today we are unpacking about how consent is just not about saying yes or no. It is about building self trust, clarity, and even pleasure. We'll explore how the wheel of consent can transform how we relate to others and to ourselves, especially when it comes to boundaries and emotional safety. So, with that, Stephen, welcome to the show, and it is such a pleasure having you with us on Pleasure Principles.
Thank you very much for this warm and good welcome. I feel really honored to be on the show, so thank you for having me. And yeah, I think it's a perfect introduction. I'm from Mindset Explained, and yeah, I couldn't have said it better than you, so I don't add anything to that. So it's a perfect way to introduce the platform. So thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you for your kind words, Stephen. And to kick the conversation off, what exactly is wheel of consent, and how exactly it differs from how most people understand consent? Just like a yes or no.
Well, the wheel of consent is something I recently discovered myself, and yeah, I was not very familiar with this tool before, but I dived into it and I also use it in my own life. It's about the relationships you have around you. So that can be romantic relationships, it can be with your friends, with colleagues, with anyone you have a relationship with. And it's really good to know how this wheel of consent works because then you can start to recognize it in your daily life. And basically, it's a model to understand the content, but also it's like a transformative tool for authentic human interactions. Um, Basically, it's divided in four areas. So it's doing, receiving, done to, and giving. And I I discovered for myself that I have the tendency to I'm really good at giving, let's say it like that. But I'm not so good at receiving. And yeah, that's something you also need to learn. And this wheel of consent really helped me with this. So that was for me a really good motivation to learn more about it. Uh, and on the website, I wrote a big article about it. So if you're really interested in this after the show, then I would strongly recommend it to read it. Yeah, today we will dive into it more.
Wow, that really sounds interesting. So, especially I would love to learn more about the quadrants in there. Um, because y- you know, I mean, yeah, we cannot generalize it, but it is something, or maybe the realization something can be similar to the realization we have when we try to understand our personality types or traits, or the behaviors we inhibit consciously or subconsciously. So have you come across any examples, Stephen, or maybe common light bulb moments, when people like first grasp this, like I did right now? A little bit, not completely.
Yeah, a good question indeed, and because I think examples speak for itself, so that's always good to do. Um, I discovered, for example, that I like to give, my friends or my people around me, I like to give things like flowers or yeah. My love language is giving, and that art of it's art of act of love. Um, but yeah, I also discovered that when someone bought something for me, like I got a present even for my birthday or something,
Mhm.
that I thought, I have to do something back. I have to give this person also something. What I so without accepting it, without any pressure or without any urge to give something back, that's the real art of receiving. So can you accept it? And yeah, the wheel of consent is based on two simple questions: who is doing and who is it for? So you can also do something for someone else, but then you do it for yourself maybe because you feel like guilty or you feel like, I need to do this so that the other person likes me. So then you're giving it to the other person, but in reality, you're doing it for yourself. Yeah, and why you do that, why people do that, that's based on a lot of things. So it can beneath that there are a lot of reasons and the history of yourself, how your upbringing, the things you have challenge in your life, circumstances. Yeah, it can be in many things. But with this wheel of consent, you make things more conscious, so you become more aware of it. And I always say you can only change things that you are aware of. So change always starts with being conscious of things. And yeah, this is a really perfect tool to get more grip on it.
Yeah, that is true. That is right. And I also feel this is really powerful, especially when in a world self sacrifice is often confused with love. I mean, we often hear statements like, "Okay, if you love me, then you have to sacrifice this." Oh, you are not ready to sacrifice that. That means that you don't love me. You don't give me importance. So
Yeah.
it is really really common. Common in the sense, I mean, the scenario. So since you talk a lot about emotional self awareness on Mindset Explained, how does the Wheel of Consent help people understand their own emotional needs or patterns in a better, clearer way?
hmm Yeah, you really need to learn to recognize your own yes and your own no. So if your body knows exactly what you want, so you get all the signals. It's like gut feeling, it's called, or your intuition. But many people, including myself, I think, sometimes I'm like a walking head. So it's like I'm in my head and I don't really pay attention to what my body tries to tell me. And yeah, that is of course strongly related to boundaries. And you can only set boundaries if you know, if you listen to yourself and you know, okay, this gives me a really a yes, and this gives me a no. I don't want this.
Mhm.
If you don't pick up that signal, then it's also really hard to set a boundary. And I think especially in romantic relationships, it's really important to have that really clear, not only for yourself but also for your partner and your relationship.
Mm. And as you mentioned about boundaries, I think it can be so tricky, especially for people pleasers, or maybe if you're conditioned to or raised to prioritize others. And
Mm.
Stephen, what are some real life signs that our boundaries are unclear, and how can the wheel help us rebuild them?
That's a really beautiful question. It's something I learned myself the hard way, because if you don't set any boundaries, then you become a play ball of other people. And it's really what I said. It's really important to be in tuned in your own body and in your whole system, and listen to all these signals. Um, and then the psychological side of this is if you're pleasing, then it means that you are only good enough if you are yeah, do what the other person likes. Yeah, and that's not how it should be, because then you put yourself as lower or not important. So it's really important to have equality.
I think yeah, this realization is very much important. But I think the communication part is something where it becomes really very tricky because let's say I am internally clear that okay, this is not something which I should do because it hurts me, even if
Mhm.
it's making someone else happy. But communicating that sometimes it really becomes very tricky, or maybe um uh, unfortunately sometimes dangerous as well. So
Yeah.
how do you think we can navigate through such situations and relationships, or maybe the people around us?
Yeah, indeed. Communication is the next step, and that's one of the hardest things in relationships, but also one of the most important things. Because if you cannot communicate your own needs, if you cannot communicate your own boundaries, then yeah, then there's no equality in the relationship. And yeah, you first have to respect yourself. You need to know yourself before you can be strong enough to stand up for yourself and to be fully behind the decision to do something or to not do something. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's very difficult to, if you're never used to do this, then it's really difficult to switch it. Like from tomorrow, I'm gonna do it differently. So that's not how it works. I think. Um, so first step is recognize, is this really a yes, or is this really no for me? And best way to do that is to see how you feel afterwards. So if you feel afterwards, check in with yourself, sit down, take a moment to check in with yourself. That's also something that many people don't do, including myself. Just to sit down and take a moment, because the day is full and you have so many things to do. Um, yeah, and then it's hard to pause and to check in with yourself. But that's the only way to recognize, was this good for me, or is this not good for me? Am I pleasing, or am I doing it because I want to? Um, yeah, that's one way to do it. And yeah, it's not easy.
It's not. It is not. I mean, if I can give so many scenarios out there. I mean, when we go for dating and stuff. So
Mhm.
initially, it's all like butterflies, and we kind of have this. I don't know. Internally, we are so much like, okay, I need to put up the best version of myself for this best,
Mhm. Mm.
and that's where sometimes it is so difficult to say no. Let's say if I am saying no, and but afterwards I feel really bad. It kind of that particular situation or that no keeps like moving within my conscious mind. I began to get into that rabbit hole that why did I say no? Am was I rude? How is that person feeling right now? What kind of opinion that person is having about me? We really become judgmental on ourselves, even if the other person is not even thinking about it. So what's one mindset shift, Stephen, you think we should have to manage this kind of discomfort?
Yeah, I think especially in the dating, when you're dating, then you really want that the other person likes you most of the times, unless you don't like to continue. But yeah, then you try to be your best version of yourself, and you try to say the answers that the other person wants to hear. You think, uh, yeah, and then it gets really easy to lose yourself and to step over your own boundaries.
Yeah.
So I think the wheel of consent can be very helpful then. So if you if you have the chance, or you have the possibility to pause and to reflect on what happened now really in this situation. Did I do something out of love, or was it out of guilt? Was it maybe because I was pleasing the other person, or was it because I really was I fully myself? So in the end, it all has to do with being completely in touch with yourself and being authentically. I think authenticity is also something very strong, but uh, because if you're authentic and if you are good in touch with yourself, you know exactly the signals in your body. Yeah, then you can be the best version of yourself. And I think uh, coming to your question, what can you do? What is a good mindset? I think it's if you are able to have the mindset, okay, I am okay no matter what the other person thinks, or I am okay. I can look myself into the mirror. I can stay true to myself. No matter what happens, I'm okay. And if the other person doesn't like this, then it's not my problem. That's a little bit rude to say, maybe, but that could help you to stay stronger connected to yourself. And yeah, I think that's a good one to get a strong mindset. And no matter what the other person thinks or how he reacts, as long as myself, then I'm okay. I'm good as I am. I don't have to be someone else to be liked or to be part of a group or to be in a relationship.
Definitely. And this is not just a blanket statement or blanket, uh, you know, way to look at this, because it can be really nuanced. I mean, it doesn't mean that uh, if I'm saying that you do not say no, do not say yes to everyone, it doesn't mean that you have to be very rude, or you feel like selfish, and say no every time. I mean, yes, it comes with the context. That the context is really really important here.
Exactly. And if the other person, if you're in a relationship, for example, and the other person is very needy, is constantly begging for attention or for gifts, or um, and you're answering that request by giving things and by constantly giving the other person attention and buying them gifts and stuff like that, then then it's again it's pleasing because it's not an authentic choice you make, because it's not something you really do it from your inner intuition. It's like you do it because you want to please the other and to keep the other person satisfied. So I think if you put the wheel of consent again on that situation, then you can recognize for yourself that the other person is only taking without giving. Does that make sense? Okay.
Um, so before we wrap up, Stephen, so for someone who's just getting started, who may think, okay, maybe this sounds easy, but in practice it may look a bit difficult.
Mhm.
What's one or maybe more than one small but practical exercise using the wheel of consent that could spark immediate insight or change?
Yeah, you can start really small, and that's with every change. Just start small and start experimenting. Just start trying. For example, if you have certain people you feel really trusted with, your family or maybe some colleagues or friends, where you can say, okay, I can try things. I can do a little experiment for myself. Let's see how it works out. And you can do, for example, um, you can you can go with your friend to a coffee place, for example, and see, maybe let's see if this friend is going to buy me coffee. If normally I am the one who buying coffee always, let's see what happens. Let's do a little experiment. So try to do the opposite of what you're normally doing in very small situations, and then you will notice that this small success experience will give you some good momentum or maybe some motivation to do it more often and to see, the world is not going down if I do this, or there's nothing bad happening if I do different things differently than normally. It's all about just experiencing the outcome of doing things differently than you're used to. Uh, so that's how I also did it. Just try little steps, and yeah, if it can be with a coffee, it can be with. If you're not used to buying things for other people, just buy some flowers for someone, or yeah, or if you have some partner who is also giving you a lot of things and you're not used to that to receive it, just try if you can receive it without feeling the urge to buy something back or to do something back to the other person.
Sounds effective. I love that. It's simple yet healing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's how. Just do. Try it. Make it small. Don't make it too big for yourself. Because if you make it too big, then yeah, the chances are high that you're not going to do it and that you are just fall back into the old familiar pattern.
Great. So, Stephen, if our listeners would like to connect with you and explore the wonderful resources you're providing at Mindset Explained, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, we have a website that's mindsetexplained.com. There's a lot of quality articles and good information about a lot of topics. These topics about psychology, therapy, coaching, personal development, also some personal stories from my side. And everything is written down to earth and very accessible. Um, so on the website, there's a lot of stuff. There's also a form if you are interested in a coaching session with me, because I do coaching. Then you can sign up for a free introduction session, so we can get to know each other. And then we also have the socials like Instagram. If you type in Mindset Explained, you will find us. On Facebook, we have a page. Yeah, and you can always send an email mindsetexplained at gmail.com. So that are basically the most uh, accessible things to do.
I'll have all the links and details mentioned in the show notes. And Stephen, thank you so much for breaking this down so clearly, compassionately, and of course, in a very simple and fun way. Because I think the wheel of consent, it just is not a new vocab, but it's really something, like a portal to deeper emotional safety, truth, and even joy. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, and last thing I want to add, indeed, every situation is also different from, is unique on its own. So if you really want to focus on your own situation and you need some help, then also I'm happy to help in the coaching session, so we can dive into the personal situation of.
That's it.
Yeah.
Really helpful, Steve. Really helpful. I'll mention this as well in the show notes. Uh, to all listeners of the Pleasure Principles, if you are curious to explore more, definitely check out Stephen's work at mindsetexplained.com, full of thoughtful reflections, tools, and honest insights like these he shared today with us to support your holistic journey. Whether you are just starting out or you are deep into your healing, just refer to the show notes along with this episode. And until then, this is your host, Sana, on Pleasure Principles. Thank you.
Thank you.